Hello, welcome to No Contest Against a Case Against Competition by Alfie Khan. My name is Kevin Kilmer. This is my partner, Stephen Hamby. Today we're going to be discussing some of the pros and cons what we found in the book, No Contest A Case Against Competition.
Now, after reading this book, we came to a conclusion that Alfie Khan made an amazing job setting up structure for youth sports, youth education, and a non-competition atmosphere to allow kids to grow. But as you dive into it more, we realize that moving on towards your later years of life, there's a bunch of arguments for non-competition within the workforce, but it's inevitable and there's no answer for it in the economic workforce. So we're going to jump in with myth number one, which is competition is inevitable.
Okay, the statement competition is inevitable is probably a little strong. I mean, the first thing that he talked about in one of the interviews that we watched was a quote from Vince Lombardi: "Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing." Yeah, that sounds really, really strong. I don't think that we should use something quite that strong, but
if you ain't first, you're last. You know what I'm talking about? That phrase is trademark, not to use that position to Ricky Bobby.
What my colleague Kevin is saying here is that Khan's biggest argument is human nature. And so what we're talking about here,
we're talking about what we've been taught from the moment that we were born. We became
ingrained. This is ingrained in our bodies. Now, this is a bigger argument than anybody could use. Now, and one of the examples and one of his researches that they found out is they took American Anglo kids and put them next to Mexican kids. And what they did is they allowed them to play together with the toys, and as the kids grew and learned, the older kids of the Anglo-American children would potentially take away from the other children for no reason at all. Now, our argument against that is kids will be kids, and that actually is a huge part of human nature, that you are bad from the beginning. And it's not the fact that you know right from wrong, but the fact is you're a selfish human being, and there's multiple series, shows, movies all about this, books, every single thing that comes down to what is human nature. So when it comes to this argument and the first myth, and he uses that as a strong point, it kind of gives a little bit of ground that there are some wavy points in this situation.
What we agree with, though, out of this is competition as a young kid, it might not be the greatest thing. Cooperation is good. We should teach our kids to work together. They don't have to compete at a high in everything they do day in and day out. We should put them in groups, teach them to work together, and go from there.
But with that also being said, once these kids mature, once they get older, once they find out what they want, what they need, now you see a whole different change of it's not I'm sharing with you, now you're going after what you want because you understand what you fully want.
Cut it. Myth number two, competition keeps productivity high and is necessary for excellence. They argue this because they say that competition is highly stressful and it interferes with performance.
Now, with the studies that Khan had done in this to prove this myth, he found the ultimate result was that every time significant negative correlation between competitiveness and achievement. But with that being said, the fact of the matter is, competition really doesn't have anything to do with your personal excellence. There's a hard way for me to grow and be able to sit here and talk to you with 2 or 3 other people in the room and make this video without learning how to do this and pushing myself. So,
free market economy.
now, in this, the way that we got to America and to building the American dream was with this process. Now, if today we stuck with the same old model and we didn't collapse the monopolies and we didn't have an economic standard where there was competition and lowering prices, the Rockefellers would probably own every single industry that we had.
Myth number 3 from Khan, recreation requires competition. We found that this is the incentive-based model, the carrot and the stick that we learned about in earlier videos in this class. Their argument is that kids drop out because of competition. They quit sports because of competition. And we have learned in this class that that's not true at all. A lot of times the problem why kids are quitting sports is parents are crazy. We go to Little League games, see the crazy parents screaming. Kids are having to go to practice all the time and they get burnt out.
Now, another example they use basically musical chairs. You know, play the music, walk around, take out a chair, single chair. We've all played the game growing up. Now they say they're to combat that. Instead of playing that game, what they need to do is make sure that everybody tries to get on one chair and there's no winner. Squeeze as many people on one chair. Once again, we keep coming back to the same thing. Now, he thinks it's ingrained in you because we play these games, but at the end of the day, adults want to see who the clear-cut winner is. And so when we see this, once again, great for the kids, not going to work in an economic standard when we're talking about business models. We're not going to work all together and try to squeeze all of our funds into one aspect of a company.
And we can try to make things where the kids don't know. A lot of times you'll see kids that don't keep score. They won't keep scoring the kids. Myth number 4 from Con. Competition builds character. And personally, this myth, to me, I have more problem with this myth than any other myth. To me, competition does build character. At the end of the day, what is driving you is going to make you a better person, whether it's a better, whatever you're doing, whatever your occupation is. Doesn't matter if you're a football player, doesn't matter if you're a salesman. Competition at the end of the day is going to make you better at your job.
Now, one of the biggest arguments that the example of an anthropologist, Jules Henry, says competitive culture endures by tearing people down. So what they're trying to say is that trying to, outperform Kevin here on a daily basis is just going to ultimately ruin me.
I disagree with that. I think it's going to make both of us better at what we're trying to do.
Now, Colin, his biggest argument is he says that competition has filtered into every part of our life, which is mostly true for the record. Everything in life is usually a competition. But there's one thing that he was way ahead of his years on that he had no idea. And
Social media.
Social media, and a big part of that is he translates that into we're competing now when we're relaxing and we're on vacation. Instagram is actually causing more people to go into depression, and it is because of competition. Now, at the end of the night or the early morning, whichever you want to do, you're flipping, scrolling through basically a scene from across the country, across the world, or maybe just your own city. You're seeing tons and tons of your fellow peers and the people you want to be doing all this cool stuff and maybe having babies, whatever it is, whatever at the time you really desire, you can find it on Instagram.
You're constantly seeing how other people's lives may be better than yours.
And it turns into, at the end of the day, that's a straight competition.
Okay, well that's our presentation over no contest, case against competition. We really appreciate y'all's time.